Alright, hello again everyone. I have been gone for a while, but that is because I was trying to do a blog post today for the month of November, and I was busy, and I was trying to get job applications out, and I was trying to get an application website thingy up, so it was just a lot of work for me. Anyways, so today I am back. I have noticed your responses in my survey. A lot of people have been saying I want architectural stuff, skyscrapers and stuff like that. So I thought I would go over how I build a skyscraper. For this tutorial, it's going to be more than one part just because it takes longer than 45 minutes to actually make one of these things. I know it'd be nice if you could make it in 30 seconds, blah blah blah, but sadly to teach it, it takes a bit longer than that. So first I'm going to go over how I set up a scene, how I like doing it, the stuff that I use to make a scene, and all that good stuff. So first with skyscrapers, I chose the Willis Tower in Chicago. Sears Tower used to be called Trump Tower maybe. I don't know if that was the Trump Tower as well. But it's a pretty iconic tower in Chicago. I will open up a new thing for that just to show you it. Here, let's open up. Hey, look, there's a train there. Throw that over there. And Willis Tower. There we go. So it's that. It's not a known tower. It looks pretty standard. If we view it, you can see it. And there it is. From this angle, I think this is? Yeah, that's about this angle. So the great thing about skyscrapers is they are very similar because of just architectural, I'm assuming architectural and structural standards. It's easy to build a skyscraper that is very similar throughout the entire skyscraper thing. There are a few, as you can see, and if we pull this back onto my other screen, there are a few areas that are a bit different, but those can be added in later. So first with this one, with this tutorial, we're just going to go over the basics of modeling something. So first, let's start up a new scene. So I'll reset the scene. And let's go over to setting up and how I first set up my scene. So what I do usually is I use mental ray rendering. So under render setup, I'll drop it in mental ray, assign renderer, and mental ray. I already have it set up, but if not, you just click these three little dots and select it. You know how to do that. Under customize unit setup, I usually use inches, so decimal standard inches. With skyscrapers, this can be a bit awkward since you're working in tens of thousands of units. I just find it easier than feet because I don't really like cutting a foot up into 12 units. It's what, 0.875 or something like that. I can't remember the actual numbers, but 0.0875. And I just find it awkward to work with, so decimal inches are the lowest denominator, and I like working with them. Next, what I do is I download RailClone. RailClone is something I use. It's i2 software. And there you go. Oh, there's tutorials there too. You can see all the tutorials for them. This one's a really good one. But what I do is I download RailClone. It's free if you want to just get the free one, which I use right now. It's the light version. But you can also buy it for, I think, 300 euro. And it's really good, especially if you're into that sort of thing. You also have a lot of libraries of stuff. But those are the main things I use. You can use the array tool kind of in Max, or not the array tool, the loft tool, array tool, I can't remember which one it is. But I haven't used it in so long, and now that it's so much better than it used to be, I would completely use this one in almost any sort of way. There is also a tutorial on RailClone that I do, which is pretty simple, but it shows you how to do just some simple things with it. So those are the three things I do. Download, install it. You have to select your max number. It's pretty simple to do, and then it'll show up under i2 Soft right there. Yeah, let's do that one. So next, what we do is I set the blockout. So first, I did some basic measurements and stuff, and there's 108 floors that are actual floors, and then the floors are 13 feet high a piece with all like the extras and stuff like that. So first what we do is the Willis Tower, if we go back to it, is made up of 9 towers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then the 3 in the back. You can see one there, but 1, 2, 3. So it's pretty simple in that sort of way. That's why I chose it. The 9 towers have different heights to them, but this allows us very easily to set up the the blockout. So first we do is the blockout. And a tower, I did some calculations, is 900 inches by 900 inches. So we will type that in, 900 length by 900 length, ranging anywhere between 7,800 inches to 16,848 inches. As I said, working in inches is a bit awkward. This is around 300, 400 meters, a couple thousand feet. So it's around a couple thousand feet up, which is pretty darn tall, seeing as one of the tallest freestanding structures. So first we have, that's one tower. It's not the right height or anything, but we're just setting up the base for it. So what we'll do is we'll use this tower, select our hierarchy tab here, effect pivot only, and move it over into the edge. This is allowing us to set up a nice 9x9 block for the base of it. And we'll just copy this again, effect pivot only, and that should allow me to move it from there now. Thank you. That is another thing. If you select three objects, and because it automatically goes to the center point of it, but sometimes if you just hit effect pivot only and it drops the pivot point back down to the point you want, you can use it that way. I don't know why it works, but it works, and I've used it a lot of times. See, now the effect pivot only here, but I want the pivot to be here in the middle for all of it. However, I don't think that's going to work. And see, there it moves again, but I want it to be there. I don't know why it works, and sometimes it doesn't, but it doesn't really matter. This I just want to center up. So if we click on my center piece right there, effect pivot only center to object, center to object, you can see the center one is now 0. Select all of them, and click the center one. Nope. Nope, it doesn't let me do it. I don't know why it works sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't. And there we go. No, will this work? There we go. Don't know why, but it works. Now they're all centered up. And next what we're going to do is create a box just a bit bigger than all of them, and this will be our ground plane. Actually, we'll make it plane. Sorry, not a box. And turn off snapping, and drag it out. So this box will be 5,000 by 5,000. And we'll center it up by just pressing 0, 0, 0. So now we have a base set up for it. Next, what we're going to do is, I like putting in the cardinal directions just so it's easier for me to do. The way to do this is just go under your create spline text, click down there, and then one will be north. I usually do the top as north and south. And then we can just do that by changing this. And you guys can't go control backspace. South. And then we go over here, which is east. And this just lets me know which area I'm working on, especially if I'm working from a, not a blueprint, but like a site plan or something I drew up myself, then it's easier to do it this way. And west. So there we go. And turn off snapping just so it's easier. Snapping, I should have gone over this. My snap styling, my default ones I use is grid point, vertex, and midpoint. I don't think I need to use any more than that because it usually works. Grid point I even turn off and on a lot of times. But vertex and midpoint are usually the best too. And there we go. So now we have all of these set up. Next what we're going to do is make up the 9 towers heights. So I have the heights written down here because I've done some math and everything. And the southeast and northwest towers, so southeast and northwest towers, are both 7,800 inches tall. So 7,800 and 7,800. Next, the southwest and northeast towers, so northeast right here, and southwest towers are 10,296 inches tall. Just copy that and paste it into the height of this. And next, what we're going to do is the south, east, and north towers. So south, east, and north towers are all 14,040, 14,040. And we'll copy that. So that's the south tower. This is the east tower. And this is the north tower. If I click on it properly, north tower. After that, the next, excuse me, I got something in my tooth. The next tower is the center tower and the west tower. So the 2 tallest towers. And I don't know if it's the actual west tower in the thing, but it doesn't really matter. It just matters that it's the right tower in relativeness to itself. And there we go. So as you can see now, we have all the towers built up. And some are not the right height, or some are not like maybe the right placement, and we have little things, but this is just a blockout. This is how much room it will take up. If you're taking it from a far enough away too, this is usually good enough. You throw texture on it and it's good enough. However, we don't want it to be just a far away view. So next what we need to do is set it up so we know how many floors are on each of these towers. So for the shorter ones, if we go back down to the southeast and northwest towers, these two, there we go, southeast, northwest, this is the first 90 floors, or 50 floors. So we put our height segments in and 50. This makes it easy for us to duplicate our RailClone stuff that we will make later. So there's the northwest and the southeast towers. Next, the southeast, southwest, and northeast towers, so this one. And these are 66 floors. So 66 segments. We're just making a floor segment because it's easy to work with when we snap it. Next, what we will have is the 90 floor segments, which will be the southeast and north towers. So these are 90 floors tall. So we turn our height segments, make them 90. Turn east, make it 90. And turn on our south tower, make it 90. And the last are the 108-foot towers, which is this one. 108 feet, or 108 floors. So 108 segments, and 108 segments here. This is the blockout. This is really the standard blockout for things. We don't have the accoutrements at the top. Ooh, I love that word. The accoutrements at the top. We don't have any of the other stuff really made in. There's 20 extra feet on the top that we will put in by making a box. So we just go to create, box, turn on snapping, and auto grid. And there we go. And then since it's 20 feet, we make 240. Not negative 240. 240. I think there's 100 feet. It would make more sense as 100 feet. 1200. And this is just the maintenance part, so we don't really need to worry about anything up there. Turn off snapping, and I'm going to turn off auto grid. Right click to end creation of it. So that is all of the actual building parts. Select all of them, and we turn them gray. Usually after I'm done building something, I put a black material on it, and then go under my materials, standard, standard, and just throw a basic gray material on it. So the black outline, so there'll be a black wireframe on a gray material, and that lets me know that I've completed building that area. It just helps me out a bit. So that is for that one. Now next what we will be doing is we will be creating the splines around the silhouettes that our RailClone stuff will follow. So as you can see, there's a silhouette, or not a silhouette, more of a uniform, I can't remember the actual word. Profile? Yeah, maybe profile, but it's from top. There's a profile that goes around these 9 towers, which is just a block, 1 square. There's one that goes around these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 towers, because it ends here. The 9 towers turn into 7, and then these 7 towers turn into 5, and these 5 towers turn into 2. And we just need a different blockout for each of those. So to do that, we make splines. We literally just go under our create panel, spline panel, and rectangle. So our first one takes up all 9 of these. So we just duplicate out one like that, and this is our spline from floor 1 to 50. So floor 1 to 50 spline. Nothing too difficult, just throw it in there. And it's up too high, so we just drag it all the way down to the bottom, or wherever we will need it. Usually doesn't matter too much, but it helps out. I'm also going to hide the selection of the base plate so it's easier to notice. Next, what we know is that our southeast and our northwest towers stop. So trying to just set it up to be the same, there we go, same as my top view. So we're going to have to create a spline that goes around here like this. So how we do that is we literally just copy and paste this spline up to whatever floor it is, and I'm just going to hit F3 so I can see the edges of it. Yeah, I know it's right there. And I'm going to hide these 2 towers because we don't need them anymore, because they're not part of our profile, well, anymore. So what we're going to do is convert this thing to an editable spline and start making a spline around here. So take this edge, drop it in there, this edge, drop it in there. You can see there's some problems here, so we just change these, right click, hit corner on them, and there's a few more inserts that we need to put there. So we'll click on these 2, go under divide and divide it by 1, so hit divide, and you can see the 2 more segments pop up. Hit this spline and this spline, divide again, and these 2 segments pop up. Take these, and you can see that they're still Bezier'd, but we'll fix that up really quickly. And there we go, just like that. It looks kind of funky. Click that, right click, and then go corner. And now they're all nice and stable. This is floor 50 to 66 spline. So it sets it up like that. Next, what we will need to do is go up to the next ones. And there we go. Now we don't need these two anymore, because these two, first what we have to do, is drag this down to the place that it starts, which is around floor 50. I don't know actually what floor it is. And we can leave it up there, because I'd have to unhide all the rest to set it up properly. It doesn't kill us too much, but what we will do is take these two and hide these, as well as this spline and this spline. This just makes it easier for us to work with, because now we can see that our area goes around like this. Drop that one into there, drop that one into there. We're going to need to make up a few more splines since this is almost a cross looking thing, as you can tell. And these two go up here. I'm just going to pull it over like this and then add a division into each of these so I can pull them in more. Click, 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 click. So just control click to select more than one, hit divide, and drop this one into here. And there we go. And now this is for 66 to 90. So we go click here and we go 66 to 90. And there is another one of it. So next what we're going to do is go to the top one. As you can see, it's a very simple one. So we can just delete most of these points on it, but first just hide these selections to make it easier on us. Hide selection, click on this, hide selection, and there we go. We'll just take all these, press Control Backspace to delete them, or just delete, I guess, to delete them off nicely. We only need 4 for this, so we just delete off every one but 4 of them. Take these two and move them back. And this is floor 90 to 108. Alright, so now that we have our splines, I'm going to click on this, unhide all. And now if we just hide first what we're going to do is move these down to their respective positions. So that one is there. That one is this one. There we go. So bottom, we want them at the bottom of the respective positions. And then this one would be down here. And then this one would be down here. Excuse me, sorry. Now, what we're going to do is I'm just going to show you by hiding all of these boxes that you can see the silhouettes or the profile of our building. Hide selection, cancel, hide selection, and you can see first it starts out with a box, then it turns into this, then it turns into this, and then it turns into this. And if we unhide all those by just undoing it, you can see our building again. So next what we're going to do is create the actual floors or the floor defaults with the RailClone tool. But first we need to do is make our segments of them. So what we're going to do is create the default, which is just the default thing that goes around, and then we're going to create evenly, which is a simple box. So to create the default, we'll just make a plane, and plane, drop it down, and the plane will be 180 by 156. Why I chose this is if we go back to the picture of the Willis Tower, you can see that there are 5 of these segments, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, for each of these buildings, and 900 divided by 5 is 180. And then the height is 13 feet, which is 156 inches. So this will make it easy to have it perfectly set up so we don't have to worry about really anything when we're just putting in the RailClone tools. It'll just automatically do all the math for us. And since they're the right size, it'll look like there's 5 per. So we're going to turn the length and width segments down to 0. And then we're going to make sure that I know which way is which. Alright, so this is the width, this is the height. Just to make sure that I know which way is which. So we'll convert this to an editable poly. And there we go. We will ring and connect these two. Well, connect it twice because again, if we go back into, hope that's the right way. Yeah, connect it twice. Because if we go back into our object, I'm just going to make sure that that's the width again. And length, yeah, so that's 180. This is the length of it, lengthwise, and this is the height of it. So what we can do, and now we're just going to convert to editable poly, go up and down, ring connect, and connect it twice, just like that. Now what these allow us to do is this will be the windows on it. So if we go into a Willis Tower, you can see that there are windows. There's a better picture of it right there. View image, good old Wikipedia. You can see that there everything there's 1, 2, and then a bigger one, 1, 2, and a bigger one. So there's 3 windows per, and then a bigger one, as well as this big plate at the bottom. So these are the windows, and then the evenlies, well, that are placed evenly across everything. They're going to be placed right there. Next, what we're going to do is ring and connect like this, only once though, and we will pull this down. See, as you can see, this is offset a bit, so I can't really easily see it, so I'm just going to zero this out and press Alt-Q to isolate. And now I can see it easier against a background. Really what I want this to be is 3 feet up. Since the floor is usually 10 feet tall with the ceiling and blah blah blah, I thought 3 feet foundations would be good enough. So you can see that the bottom plate it's set is at 78, I'm going to assume. See, it pops over 78. So 78 divided minus 36, which is 3 feet, is 42. Negative 42. And there that is. Next what I'm going to do, just to easily work with it, turn it to black, material, put a standard gray on it. Now I can actually see my lines on there. So that will be for that. Next what we're going to do is chamfer this, excuse me. Sorry, my throat's getting a little sore. So we're going to chamfer these ones back by 1 inch, so that will give us 2 inch between each of these. And now we're just going to extrude these back. Now you can by -2. Now what you can be saying, or you might be saying, is, well, why aren't we chamfering these to make them look better? We're going to have it evenly placed on top of them, so it doesn't really matter. As well, for this, we're far enough away that it won't matter. Also, if we go to Effect Pivot Only, this is just to show it off to you, and we make it the way it's going to be made anyways, you can tell that it looks like the window is perfectly in line with it. There's no actual clipping or anything bad there. So we're just going to leave it like that. And this will be called our floor main default. And there we go. So next what we're going to be doing is we are going to go under our, excuse me, we're going to create our evenly. We're going to make a box that is 4 by 4 by 156. So this is just, if we go 4 by 4 by 156, we can tell that this will be our, and there we go, this will be these bigger pieces. That will easily make it easier for us just to offset everything. So if we drop it back to 90 just to show you how it would look in it, it looks like that. And those are the thicker pieces. And now what we're going to do is set the material, and there we go. Next what we're going to do is set up the material IDs for this. Now we're not going to put the materials on it yet, but we're just going to set up the IDs. So as you can see, we want these to be windows, these areas, if I click my polygon tool, these areas to be windows and the rest to be more of a metal material. So what we're going to do is select all of it, and we're going to set the ID to 1. And next what we're going to do is select the 3 windows and set that ID to 2. And that is good. For the box, we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to convert this to an editable poly. We don't need 108 height segments. Just zero that out. And convert this to an editable poly. And under our polygons, select all of them and set the material ID to 1. So this makes it so that we can use the same material for this object and only collect the material, even though we're going to have a multi-sub-object material, which will allow us to make it easier for us to put our materials on, as well as it's the only way that it really works with RailClone. So those are those ones. And now what we're going to do is rotate them up to 90, or into the way they're actually going to be placed out. This zeroes it out. However, for this one, when we rotate it up to 90, you notice that this transformation stays there. There's also a movement transformation. So what we want to do, go under our tools, reset our X form or transforms, and reset selected. And we do the exact same with this one, reset selected, and convert, and then just collapse this. So all we do to collapse is convert to an editable poly again. And you can see it gets rid of it. Convert to editable poly, gets rid of it. And these are our 2 things that we will be using in the RailClone. So floor main default and floor main evenly. Next, what I'm going to do is just create a quick little material to go with this. The materials we will change later is just to make it easier for us now. So we'll just make a material, a mental array architectural design, and one will be the metal and one will be the glass. So we just go here and we turn satin metal. This is just a very good base material for this. And then we just set satin, or we'll just click metal material. Now, if you remember, our metal material was material number 1 in our polygon. It was material ID number 1, and our glass was material ID number 2, or windows were. So next what we're going to do is copy and paste this one, call it glass, and do a glass thin geometry since we only used a plane for the windows. So next, after that, we will create a standard multi-sub-object material, and we'll set the number to 2 because we only have 2 materials. Our metal material will go into number 1, and our glass material will go into number 2. Then we just click on this, click on the multi-sub-object, click on our object, and then apply it to it. As you can see, the glass is way too transparent and stuff like that. But now we just apply those two. So there we go. As you can see, this one is only gray, or only metal, because it's only material ID number 1, and this has the 2 material IDs. I'll select both of these, exit the isolation mode, and now I'll move them out so I can work with them again. So next, all we need to do is make the RailClone objects, and then we will be able to copy them. So to do this, we'll just isolate out our spline that we use and our 2 objects, go under our Create panel, and go under our i2 software, and go under RailClone Lite. For this, yeah, I don't need the update. You'll have the latest version if you just download it, so it doesn't really matter. Drag out your RailClone tool. It doesn't matter where it goes, so just drag it out, right-click to end the selection creation process. And what we will name this is floor 0 to 50, or 1 to 50. 50. And go under a Modify panel, go to Open Style Editor, and there we go. This is where all the magic will happen. This is a generator. This is a linear generator, so it'll take 1 spline and make it generate over the default to start, the corner, the evenly, and the end. We only need a start and add evenly, and that's really all we need because it's the way it's set up. We'll be creating the corners differently, just to how easy they are in the Willis Tower. So what we need is 2 segments. That segment will be the default. That segment will be the not default, the corner, or evenly. And we need a spline. So as you can see, we have all that set up. I'm going to move this over so I can see more. And our spline will be object, click it, and our spline will be floor 1 to 50 spline. Our evenly segment will be, or our default segment will be this default thing that we cleaned, our floor main default. And this one will be our evenly, floor main evenly. So now we can just have to drop these into their respective things, their default into our default, our evenly into our evenly, and our spline into our spline. As you can see, it did something. It's all rotated wrong and stuff, but that is easy to fix. So first what we want to do is go under our rules of our linear 1 stack and make our evenly 180 inches apart. Because each of these things, if we go back to here, is 180 inches long. Where is my, there. Each of these is 180 inches long, and we want them at the very ends of it. So we'll just make our evenly 180 inches across. Next what we do is go under our floor main default. Under our transform, as you can see, they're rotated weirdly, so we just want to make sure we rotate it until it's proper. So we'll go under Y, I think it's 90 rotation to turn it off. And I do, there we go. So it's not rotation for the Y, maybe rotation for the X. Nope. Negative 90. Nope. No. Maybe rotation for the Z now. And there we go. Now that's 90 rotated for the Z. You can see that it's set up properly. So you rotate 90 for the Z. Yours might be different just depending on how you built it. However, this works for me. So there we go. That is our, if we close this object, this floater out, you can see that it is on our spline. But it's offset really strangely. And that's just because, sorry, I wanted to make sure it was just because of a silly thing. And that's just because of the way our X-form modifier works. But as you can see, the bounding box is just a bit strange. If we hit J to turn off our bounding box, it looks perfectly fine. So that is our bottom piece. So we're just going to hit F4 so I can see it, or just isolate these out again, just so we can see it easier. And it is our nice box placeable thing. What we'll do now is hit our materials, turn our multi-sub object material onto it, and since we set up our materials and stuff here, and our elements, material IDs and stuff like that, here you can see that it takes the correct material ID and puts it on the correct area. So you have the glass where the glass is and the metal where the metal is. So next what we're going to do is just do this over and over again. But however, we don't want to have to remake the RailClone all the time. So what I'm going to do is hide all of these boxes so we don't have to worry about them. Hide selection. And I'm going to copy and paste my RailClone. Make sure you select the RailClone and the spline, just due to the fact that the spline and the RailClone won't work without each other. And I'm just going to effect pivot only. I see, because the spline's pivot point is the RailClone's pivot point is way over here, that's why. So I'm just going to hit effect pivot only and centered object just so it's easier in here. And we'll select both of those, and we will move all of them up all the way to here. Press OK. And next what we're going to do is go under our RailClone, so click on our RailClone object, under Modify, under Open Style Editor, we're just going to hit Spline. Instead of floor 1 to 50, we want floor 50 to 66 spline. Close that out, and we can delete this spline now. You can only delete that spline after you set this up again. We'll do the same thing again. Copy both the spline and the object, and the RailClone object. Select the RailClone object, Open Style Editor, go under our spline, click this other one, floor 66 to 90 spline, and delete out this spline. Next what we're going to do is move these up again to the last one, and we'll click this, Open Style Editor, click our spline, and there we go. Sorry, that would prompt me for some reason, and delete out our spline. So now we can have our 4 main profiles of it. So next what we know is this is floor, since we've named this all so nicely, this is floor 1 to 50. So there's the first floor and we have 49 more. So we'll select our spline and our object, unhide all, just so we can see, and press F4 to see our wireframe. But if we select our spline, there we go, our spline and our object, you can see if we turn on snapping, and make sure this is snapped to midpoint or vertex, just so you can snap to the vertex of the thing behind it. You just drag it up and drop it on. And we're just going to effect pivot only so I can drop my pivot point back down to 0. And where it is right there. So just hold shift, drag it up, and you can see it's dragging up that amount of inches. 156 inches, that's what it is. And we can copy it 49 times. Press OK. It'll take a while because there's a lot of things to copy and paste. And there we go. We have our base part of it, and you notice it stops right at the perfect point, just because of the amount of math that we did beforehand, just to make sure that we had to set it up for that certain purpose. Next what we're going to do is select the next line, which is a bit harder to do because I suck at this. Actually, I'm just going to blame it on my smaller monitor. Okay, there we go, 50 to 66. Select that spline and that entity. Zoom in on it. And 50 to 66, we have our first one, so really there's only 15 more we need to copy. So copy 15. And there we go, all the way up to the next one. And then we just keep doing this for the last 2. So we'll select our floor, and we'll select our spline. I can somehow get that. Did I get it? I don't know. No, I didn't. Floor 66, 90 spline, and our RailClone object. And just copy this up, just like that. If you're not getting the pivot point right on the bottom of it, just effect pivot only, drag it down until it's right on the bottom of your objects, and then you can copy it out again. Floor 66 to 90 that's 24, but we already have 1, so 23. 23 more. There we go. Drag it all up, just like that. And then our last one will be right there. right there. I'm trying to select this. Nope, that's a box. 490 to 180 spline 03. And then we just go back to this view. Orthographic views work much better for this. And then we go 90 to 108, which is 18, but we already have one, so it's 17 more. And there we go. We have created successfully all of our floors. So we're just going to hide out my blockout now. Hide selection. And then just select the rest of them and easily get them. Hide selection. And that one, hide selection. And if you hit F4 to turn it off, you can see just our splines and our things as well. Turn off our splines, you just select by name. Turn off geometry and just select the splines. So just select all this. 490 spline all the way up to 451 spline. Press OK, it'll select all of them and just hide selection, just if you don't want to see them. And there is our building. So you can tell that it's quite tall. So we have almost everything made up now. All we need to do is create the last supports. Now these are bigger. If we go back to our object, these are a bit bigger, and they're at the edge of every 9 of the 9 towers. As you can see, they're at the edges, right there, right there, right there, and always at the edges. So what we're going to do is we're just going to create a box that will be about a foot by a foot. And actually, it won't be about, it'll be a foot by a foot. And it doesn't matter how tall it is because we're just going to change that up anyways. So zoom in on this, and this will just be support. And say box. And under our object things, we'll just make it a foot by a foot. Make it 0 or 1 height segment because we're just going to convert to an editable poly. So convert to editable poly. Select all of these polygons around the edge. So just click one, press shift click, and it should loop around all of them like that. Inset them by -2, or by 2, I guess. So make sure it's by polygon. And then extrude it in by -2. And it's quite simple. Now make sure we can select all of them, like that, and make this geometry to be material ID 1. So what we can do is go under materials and just select this material sub ID again and hit 1. Usually it's easier if you just work with one object, especially when you have a bigger scene. One building itself is an entire material sub object, and then it's easy enough to work from there. It does get a bit big with materials and sub IDs, but it works very easily, especially if you just use mostly the objects that you are given from, trying to say the right word, from the architectural design ones. As long as you use architectural design, they're much easier. So now we can just move this out into the edges, just like that, and at the corner of every one of our buildings. So one there, it's trying to grab to the what's it called, points, the grid points. So to turn this off, just right click my snapping and turn off grid points. And then we'll just drag it all the way down to there. Press OK, zoom in, and then center it up. Not centering up because this is on a spline and it's not really anything there. So I'm just going to unhide all, and now I can see my splines better. And that should snap to splines very easily like that. Next one will be down here at this box, and then here at this box. Now I'm just going to select these 2, 3, 4, and copy them over 3 times here. 1, 2, and 3. These ones in the middle you don't need to worry about too much, so I can just delete them. Support 10, delete that out. Support 06. Actually, no, those should be in there anyways. Sorry, my bad. So we have all the 9 supports in there. Next, all we need to do is see how tall they go. So what we're going to do is select our supports. So just turn on those, and we're going to isolate our boxes. Those are our boxes and our supports. And it's all of these ones. Okay. Select them and isolate them out. Now this just makes it easier for us to work with it. Since we know these blockouts are the correct size, we can just select these, the top, take their top vertices, and drag them out until the top of, until it stops. So we put that support up to there, and that's the right size. Next, what we're going to do is take this support, take our objects out of it, and drag it all the way up to its top support, which is really high up. And as you can see, there's a bit above it, but it doesn't matter too much, because you'll never see that from how far we're looking away from it. The only way you'll ever see that is if you go up that close to it, which sometimes you do, however, not this time. So we're going to select all these again. And, okay, there we go. Snapping to there. And I have two objects selected, I didn't mean to. And there we go. Move these up to here again. And there we go, another one of these. And then we're just continuing to do this for all of them. However tall we make it. This one goes all the way up to this. Almost there. There it is. And this one goes all the way up to really far up. Again, there it is. And that's all the way up there. And this is how we're going to create our supports. It takes a bit of time, but it's much easier than doing anything with RailClone and trying to set up the numbers and everything like that. As well as it gives us a bit more leeway to play around with. So there we go. Isn't this fun? I'm going to sing songs. I can't select my edges. There we go. And I'm trying to keep something going here when I'm just moving around our vertexes. Looks like my singing isn't amazing. And all the other people who really want me to be serious all the time are like, oh, you're not being serious. And I'm like, nope. And I'm going to lose 18,000 subscribers, even though I don't have that many. That'd be nice though. And I'm going to keep moving these ones around. What you can do to kind of cheat is attach all of them and then just move the vertices up until they're correct positions, like whatever ones you need. However, I don't feel like doing that. It wouldn't really work too well if you're wanting to create an explosion of it or trying to break it up or stuff like that. Another problem with this way of making skyscrapers is they're really hard to, like with RailClone, since they're parametric, they're not natural, it's not actual geometry there, it's quite hard to explode it. But what you do is you take the most of them and then you take the 3 or 4 floors that you will explode and you leave them until the end, and then you make those differently so you can set something up on them. Let's say you make those out of edible polys and then you would explode them with whatever you're going to explode it with. So next what we're going to do is take these four middle ones, and as you can see right in here is where the supports start, so I'm just going to move them up to this floor and right about there. Take this one and drag it all the way up to the top. Do the same with the one, where was it? It's this one. Click this one, drag it all the way up to the top. And oops, I missed these two. Ah, shoot, and just drag all this one all the way up here. You want it up to the top of the final support that'll be at. So take this one and drag it up as well. I cannot select these worth of darn. There we go. And just continue doing this. This is the most boring part of this entire tutorial, I promise. And we're almost done anyways. So we select this one. And drag it all the way up. And now we're just going to select our last two. So go F3 and we'll be able to Q to go into selection mode. Select these two. Try to deselect. There's 3 objects selected. I do not know which. I'm just going to select this object and this object. Move them up until, I think it's right there. Nope. Move them down to the 60th floor, right about there. So now what we're going to do is click on one, select it, and move it up. And click on this other one, and move it up all the way to the top. Don't know why I didn't do that with the other one. And there we go. So now we have it all nicely set up, and then this one's not moved up all the way to the top. I'm not doing good with these today. I was doing so much better by myself and I didn't have to do a tutorial and millions of lives were riding on it. Not really. And there we go. Now we have all of them set up. Now since they were all already set up with materials, they're already set up, so I'm just going to make a black outer wireframe on them. I'm going to unhide all. Now you can see everything is made up. And I'm going to hide all of these boxes. And there is the basic Sears Tower blockout. Well, not blockout. This is the basic Sears Tower model without the with the RailClone. So now, as you can see, there are bigger supports every now and then, in the middle of them there and there. And we can just put a camera in right about here, so we can view where we like to render it from. Press F9. Now our render won't be very nice right now. I'll show you why. Also, whenever this pops up, press yes. So, as you can see, there's nothing too impressive, but we can fix up this render easily. So what we're going to do is put a quick, there we go, quick daylight system in here. Press yes. And up like that. And just drag it out. It doesn't really matter what time it is. Make sure it's MR Sky and MR Sun. Press yes. And under our materials, because we can see through it very easily just because of our materials, we don't want this. We want our glass material to be very reflective but not be able to see through it. So we'll turn down our transparency to 0. We'll have a reflectivity of 1, but make more of a black reflection. So we'll darken the reflection, drag this down to our refraction, and copy it. Now when we go over top of it like this, look up and press F9 to render, you'll notice that it looks a bit better. And there we go. So that is the basics of our skyscraper. Next, what we're going to be doing, this is a tutorial on almost most stuff that I wanted to make. It's more going to be course thingy. You can pick and choose whatever one you want. But this is just how I basically model a skyscraper. So there we go. You can see the skyscraper. There's some rendering issues there just because of anti-aliasing and stuff like that. However, it looks pretty good. So join me next time on this tutorial series thing for the lighting and the interior makings of it. And more materials. Hope to see you then. Cheers.